Get ready. Start. I had no intention to take part in this debate, but looking at the different points of view which different honorable members have put forward, I think I should mention the position as it is with regard to groundnut oil. It is a commodity the production of which varies from year to year. It has got to a large extent to depend on the climate, rain and so forth. It is difficult to evaluate the crop because groundnut is grown in different parts of the country and it begins to move in one part in October and November and in some other parts in December and January. Therefore, it is difficult to evaluate the exact position of groundnut. Besides, we do not have correct data as regards the crop. Unfortunately, our statistics with regard to agricultural production are meager and it is difficult to know exactly what the crops are of different commodities and therefore it is difficult to evaluate even the crops. I would also like to inform the House that of the total crop of groundnuts exports are to the extent of 2.5 to 5%. There is not so much of surplus as it is somehow or other felt here. So whatever the export policy of the government, it reflects on the price structure. That very small percentage of export has a bearing on the price structure of groundnut because there is a very small percentage of surplus. If a little more is exported, the price goes up, and if a little less is exported, there is always a tendency for the price to fall. I heard an honorable member say that the policy should be such that the growers must know beforehand what it is. This year, if I may just illustrate, in the beginning the prices were much higher than what they are today. The prices have dropped even though export was allowed because the export duty was put in. Last year, the prices were much lower in the beginning of the season and then they went up. It is a difficult thing and I can appreciate the difficulty of the Honorable the Commerce and Industry Minister with regard to what the export policy should be. It is also difficult for him to follow exactly the effect the export policy will have on the internal price structure in the next year. It is very well to say after the event that if the policy had been of this nature, it would have been better for the price structure. I do agree that it would be better for every interest concerned if the policy can be of a long range so that everybody knows what the position would be. I do not know whether it would be possible for the Honorable Minister to follow that policy because of the difficulties I just pointed out. But if it is possible to formulate a policy on a long range basis, it would be in the interest of everybody concerned because people would know exactly what the policy is. The question of the export policy is also allied with a number of other questions. Formerly, we used to export groundnuts. Then we stopped exporting groundnuts except a very small quantity. Now we export more oil. There is also the other consideration whether for the oil we should export the vegetable ghee or the hydrogenated oil. All these things depend not only on the internal factors but also on external factors. It has also been said that we should not allow so much quantity of this oil or that. We must allow more quantity, and by allowing more quantity we might perhaps have our prices go up, or perhaps by allowing less quantity the prices may go down and things like that. There is also another factor which has a bearing on this, the world price factor, the world supply and demand, and that depends on our prices and the adjustment of export duties. The policy as I see is that the maximum benefit of the export price must go to the state and whatever little margin is left should go to the exporters. That has been the policy till now because there has been a seller's market, and that is why we should dictate with regard to prices. Now the position has changed completely. In the world, it has become a buyer's market and therefore it has to be considered whether in the buyer's market we can dictate our prices. As the Honorable Commerce Minister pointed out according to world supply and demand position, there is a very small surplus. Certainly, the small surplus or small deficit does account a great deal for the change in prices. The prices go down definitely even if there is a small surplus. The world prices are so high with regard to oils and fats that a slight surplus is definitely bound to bring down the prices. I do feel that the policy must be a long range one. I would like to take the House into the history of these provisions as they were discussed in the Constituent Assembly. Even at the time when the present Article 369 was being considered by the Constituent Assembly, there was a body of opinion which felt that limiting the parliamentary jurisdiction in respect of commodities like food, grains and other agricultural products for a period of 5 years was taking a short view of the question. The basis of the decision of the drafting committee could be understood from para 14 of the letter written by the chairman of the drafting committee to the president of the Constituent Assembly. I am making reference to this letter of the chairman in order to point out that the recommendation of the chairman of the drafting committee to the president of the Constituent Assembly was based on a previous enactment, namely the provisions of the India Central Government and Legislature Act of 1946, which gave life in regard to the power exercised by the central legislature over those matters for a further period when the war legislation came to an end. It is not often that one looks back to what happened during the time when the Constituent Assembly was discussing. But it did give me a certain pleasure when I was looking into the proceedings of the Constituent Assembly to find that a friend of ours who is a member of this house had the far-sightedness to fail at the time when Article 306 of the draft constitution was being considered that the duration of the validity of the provisions of that article should be extended from 5 to 15 years. In fact, at that time the honorable member expressed the opinion that in matters like food, stuffs, minerals, etc., the power of the government of India should be kept intact. Anyway, the Constituent Assembly did not accept the suggestion made by him. Even prior to this particular article being taken up for consideration by the Constituent Assembly in the several discussions that took place in regard to the distribution of powers between the centre and the states, it was felt that parliamentary control should be provided over essential commodities other than those expressly covered by item 52 list 1st and item 33 of list 3rd attached to the Constitution of India. I remember the discussions that took place between the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly and the chief ministers of the states and the ministers of the central government, and I would like to recall that our late lamented Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, who was then Minister of Industry and Supply, expressed himself in those discussions that control of Parliament should extend not merely to trade and commerce and the products of the industries which were within the legislative competence of Parliament, but should extend also to other commodities, the control of which was declared by Parliament by law to be expedient in the public interest. That is, he felt that Parliament should have the power to extend the range of control over commodities other than those covered by item 52 of list 1st schedule 7. There was a considerable amount of discussion on this point at that particular meeting with the chief ministers of states, and it was then decided that an item similar to item 33 in list 3rd of schedule 7 should be provided and might prove adequate. The present chief minister of UP at that time very aptly indicated that though the centre might have legislative powers in regard to some of these commodities, these powers have been and are being exercised only for the purpose of preparing a skeleton legislative measure, and that the provinces are left to deal with the rest as the provinces made rules and the rule making even in regard to matters about which the main legislative power was with the centre. No conclusions were reached in that meeting in regard to augmenting the powers of Parliament in respect of all products which Parliament might consider at some time or other to be of national importance. Stop.